Hey guys, welcome to the Centre Bounce. Well, this is the first episode for the 2022 season, and I hope you guys enjoy it. How good does it feel to have footy back? Man, I know those long September and October, November months for the teams that didn't make finals, they were hard. But we've hit December again, footy's back, teams are training, and we get lots of Supercoach news. Well, there's some stuff happening. So, today we're just going to talk about the new changes to the fantasy positions. So this is for fantasy and for AFL Supercoach. Some players lost DPP and some players didn't. So let's check it out and see how we go. Maybe we can find some gems for our Supercoach teams while we're in here. So this article just came out a couple of days ago from the AFL. So just talking about what the new changes were and what's happening. Starting by club. So Brody Smith's in defence. It's not really Supercoach relevant too much. Jordan Dawson could be a good pickup for Adelaide. For us in Supercoach, we'll see how it goes. There's not really that halfback flanker in Adelaide price-wise for us to pick up. I know that some people had Jordan Butts last year, and he was a good pickup, for that 250k price point to start with. But there's not like Adelaide are running with a Jake Lloyd type, so yeah. There's some options there. Rory Laird. So, big trouble for us. I think Rory Laird's ownership's really going to drop off. It's probably the first time in the last 4 or 5 years he hasn't had defence, at least DPP. So, it's really going to hurt the ownership for Rory Laird. I don't think he'll get picked much next year. He was averaging that 110 or to 115, which was really good for him, but you've got to compete with a lot of guys who are going to be doing 120, and I just don't see it happening. Let's scroll down to Brisbane. So Zorko's back to mid only. Last year we had him as a forward mid, so that was really good for our sides. I know he saved a lot of people, and people were complaining that they didn't have him. So, yeah. Zach Bailey, DPP. It could work. I know that he had a couple of good seasons, or a few good games during last season, but I just don't think he's there yet. So moving on to Carlton. So this has hit a bit of a big one here. So Zach Williams only defence. So no more DPP for Zach Williams. I don't see him getting picked much coming next year, but we'll see how he goes. I think there's definitely better options there, and even at like a sub 450 price, you'd be pretty 50-50-50. Do I want to pick him? So we'll see how it goes. George Hewitt, I think basically is going to be the same. I don't think many people are going to pick him. Kennedy and Paddy Dow. So I'm glad we won't have Paddy Dow worries in the forward line anymore. I know a few of us started him last year, so it's good to just have him mid only and we can forget about him. Because I know a lot of Carlton fans probably have as well. Looking at Collingwood, there's not a lot of changes to Collingwood. Dacos mid only kind of hurts a little bit. Or both Dacos brothers, but Nick especially. Having that DPP would have really helped us, especially because he's going to be about 200k in Supercoach, being pick 4. So, yeah, what can you do, Lipinski is about the same as well. So if we can get Lipinski about 250k, he might be worth a cheeky start. But this year, I'm going to go set and forget and rookies in the midfield. I got screwed over a lot last year, so unless there's a super insane cash cow, just going to hold off. Looking at Jack Crisp. So, he had a really good last part of the season. Let's just put up fully wire. One sec. So, if we just look up Jack Crisp. Now, his Supercoach season was actually pretty decent. And the fact that we can get him in defence means that, hey, it might actually be worth a look. I know he's going to be playing a lot of midfield at Collingwood, similar to how he played here. That's where he got a lot of his just hundreds and a couple of like 140s and a 120 near the end of the season. So depending on how the preseason goes, he might be a cheeky slot in. If he ends up being about 550k, bank it, boys. We'll see how we go. Moving down to Essendon. So I'm glad Heppel's not DPP anymore. Nick Hind in defence kind of hurts because he was one of the guys that last year. Probably should have been a defender, but was named a forward, so we could get that flexibility there. Jake Stringer's mid-forward, which is great for us. He might be an option depending on how he goes and how much mid-time he gets. I know Shield and a few other guys have come back, so we'll see how much Stringer does. He's the right age to have a big impact, but we'll see how it goes. Nick Hind. So Jordan Ridley's probably going to be a good pickup again this year. I know Jake Kelly's come in and he's going to be doing a lot of defence work for them. So yeah, we'll see how it goes for him. Preseason games, guys. Got to check the stats and see where the players are playing. That's the only indication we really have. That and articles and training reports and things. So do your research. It really helps. Heading over to Freo. So Michael Walters, forward only. Don't really care too much. Will Brody could be a decent pickup. I know he's fighting for a best 22 spot. He's that big body midfield. I think he's about 192 centimetres that Freo really need. So we'll see how it goes. Nat Fight we don't care about too much. Jordan Clark's mid only. I know he had DPP last year. Some people started him. And Sean Duss is ruck only. I think AFL Fantasy had him as a ruck forward. So that's why he's in here as ruck only. So Geelong. There's not a lot of changes in Geelong really. Dangerfield finally doesn't have forward DPP. So we don't have to start him. I know a lot of us didn't start him last year. But there's always that feeling like Dangerfield's going to average 110, 115. So if you don't have him, he's going to hurt. Well, 2022, you don't have to worry. Mitch Duncan as a mid-forward could be an option. I'm going to wait and see what the team's looking like before I pick that. So we'll see how it goes. Gold Coast, not much to see there. Elijah Holland's mid-forward is probably going to be the most selected rookie. If he can stay fit, he's going to have a bit of a price drop from last year. So if he can stay fit, stay healthy, get on the park and play 22, he's going to be a good pickup. If he ends up being about 150k, lock him in. GWS. So here we go. GWS got 3 really good DPP players this year. Lockie Whitfield, Cornelio, and Taranto. So Whitfield DPP, depending on his price, I think he's going to be about sub 500. He could be a decent pickup. I know he played a bit of mid-time in 2021, and he's got the flexibility to be everywhere. Having DPP means you could team up with a Crisp or a rookie that's got DPP and have that really important cover. That helps you on later on during the season. Cornelio mid-forward. So there's talk that he might be something like 250, 260k. And yeah, why would you not pick him if he's playing every game? An 80 or a 90 halfway through the first couple of games in the season, and he's going to jump to 450k. And you just offload him for the next best forward, and then you're done. Taranto, wow. So Taranto's actually had a pretty good season last year. I know he's on the cusp of about 100 average, and for a forward, that's really good. So seeing how GWS goes, what his position's like in 2022, when the JLT or the preseason games happen, really is going to give us that indication of do we pick him or do we not pick him. Moving on to Hawthorn, I don't think there's really anyone there who we need to worry about. Jarman Impey, sad he's only defender, but that kind of makes sense. Bramble, similar thing. It was really good later half of the season. I think he got picked up mid-year, so pretty good cover. Wingard, we don't need to worry about. Phillips, McGuinness, and Ben McAvoy could be an option if you're really struggling, but he's really old, and I just don't think it's going to work out for him. Yeah. What to do? So Melbourne. So we've got James Harms changed to a mid. You know, what can you do? And Luke Jackson, so ruck forward. I know he's going to be playing a bit more time with Gawn. I reckon he might do like a 35-65 split with Gawn next year. So ruck forward. He could be an option, but because he played a lot in 2021, he's going to be too expensive for that to happen. So pretty sad, but what can you do? Looking at North, Aaron Hall's in defence. Averaged huge numbers. He's still playing that really successful halfback running role at North. Shame he's not a forward anymore, but he should be in your selections for your starting team. If you don't have him and he pops out like a 110, you're going to kick yourself. Similar to a Zeeble, same role, getting a little bit older. There is more that competition for that role, Aiden Corr's coming back, which might affect the kick-ins a tiny bit, but North are still a defensively running team. The ball should be down there a little bit more, not as much as 2021. I don't expect them to get beaten as much, but yeah. Who else do we care about? So Stevenson, not so much. Jed Anderson, I don't think you need to worry. Taryn Thomas is the big one. So I'm really glad he picked up, or he kept his mid-forward status, at least in Supercoach he was both. Yeah, he's going to be fantastic next year. He should be playing a lot of mid. And if we just look at his scoring for the last few games. So as a forward, as a midfielder, 95, 96, 84, 108, 135. They're not huge numbers. But as a forward, you're laughing. Anything over a 95 average for the year, lock it in 100%, throw away the key guys. 95, 96, 84, 108, 135. They're numbers of him being in the midfield. And the great thing about Taryn Thomas that some people don't know, he's a midfielder that kicks goals. And he kicks goals regularly. And that's what we want to see. Will Phillips and Luke McDonald, don't need to worry too much. And Horn Francis being mid-only. I don't know if he's going to be a pickup or a starting rookie that you want to start, especially being about that 210k mark. He won't be playing solo mid at North because the team is just that stacked in that position. He should kick, potentially a goal a game, which is fantastic. But when you've got rookies who could put up similar numbers for 90k cheaper, you really got to weigh up your options there. Port Adelaide, so Houston got defence only, Rosie's forward only. Could be an option there, depending on if he's right from his injuries and how his preseason goes. Similar to a Zach Butters, he was pumping out huge numbers before he got injured. So really, really keen for him to start playing again and should have a bit of a cheaper price point, considering he missed quite a lot of 2021. And Bergman as well. So not too bad. Looking at Richmond, Daniel Rioli, defence forward. Don't see many defence forwards, which is great. Could have some sneaky three-way splits, which is really important sometimes. Shai Bolton, mid-forward. Thompson Dow. So Shai Bolton, just thinking about him for a sec. I don't think people will start him. He may be an upgrade target if he goes big, but he burnt a lot of people last year, so I just don't think it's going to happen. Thompson Dow, mid-forward, similar there. Dusty Martin. So he's kept his DPP. He's on a never again list for me. Never, never, never again. It kind of started the downhill trend of what was my 2021 Supercoach season. So, yeah, never again for me that way. And Jack Graham. Like, who isn't even, who's a Jack Graham? Last couple of teams here. So, just looking at St Kilda. Hill in defence. I don't think anyone's going to pick him. Same with Hunter Clark and Higgins. Jack Billings, mid-only, probably stops people from picking him, period. If he has DPP as a forward, someone might take him at that point if he burns the house down. But he's competing with Oliver, Steele, Tuke Miller, Neil, Petrarca, Bont for a position in your midfield. And you're not going to pick Billings over one of them. Similar with the Jay Gresham, I don't think you'll start him. And Rowan Marshall. So Rowan Marshall's really going to hurt a lot of people. I know myself, George, and a few others really wanted to have him as a forward who played in the ruck, have that kind of cover there, and now we just can't do that. Some will take him as a ruck, but his injury worries are a real concern. He missed a bit of 2021 because of that, and would you really take him over a Gordon Grundy or a Sean Darcy? I just don't think it's going to happen. And Paddy Ryder, ruck only as well. So, yeah, no one's going to pick Paddy Ryder. It's just not going to happen. Looking at the Swans, so Blakely, defence. Doesn't really matter. Braden Campbell, defence only. I think he was mid-forward last year, or 2021. So Isaac Heaney, forward. Longmire's come out and said, hey, Heaney's going to play something like 70-30 mid-forward time, which is great, until he doesn't. Until you've got him in your team and he drops a couple of 30s because he got stuck in the forward line during rotations. So Hewitt's out. They're moving around the Sydney midfield a lot. Kennedy's getting a bit older, that kind of thing. So Heaney could push a little bit more. I know that he got some massive scores last year because he pushed up. So we'll see what happens. And Keller Mills. So he was amazing for a lot of people's teams last year. similar to my rule with picking outside of your role on field. If you can get a forward who plays midfield, take him. If you can get a defender who plays midfield, take him. That's what Keller Mills did. Last year he was a mid defender. People picked him. It was great. But as a mid-only player, like I said, similar to a Billings, you're not picking him over Petrarca, over an Oliver, over a Bond, over a McRae, a Tuke Miller, Lockie Neal, a Walsh. It's just not going to happen. And Cam Sinclair, he really isn't relevant in Supercoach. Duggan, defence mid. It could work, but we'll see what happens. And the Dogs, lucky last. So Bailey Dale, defence only, kind of hurts. A lot of people had him in the forward line, and he did really well last year, but, defence only. Shaki, defence forward, could be okay. I know that his last few games he was kind of influential, taking a lot of intercept marks, but we'll see what happens. Treloar, mid forward, I don't think people will take him. I don't think he's worth the price. Similar with a Dunkley. At least Dunkley can do a lot. Dunkley does have the scoring potential there, but now he's got to share his midfield time, his ball possession time with someone else in there as well. And that's kind of why Dunkley's last few games were dreadful. Not dreadful, but pretty subpar for his price. Treloar came back, other people started taking his ball time, and Dunkley really had to put in the work to get the score, which isn't what he was used to. Lockie Hunter mid, doesn't really matter. And Tim English. So, Tim English wants to be a forward ruck, but the Dogs need him as a ruck forward. So, he could be an option there. If he's sub 500k and he's going to be playing main ruck every week, he could be an option, but you're just looking at him and saying, come on, man. It's not going to work out for you. So, that's my analysis of the DPP changes, guys. Let me know what you think. Have you guys got any starting picks that you're thinking might be some sneaky pods? I'm going to put out some extra videos coming up just to let you guys know how I'm feeling, what's going on before the actual prices come out. I think Supercoach this year is going to probably come out around December 23rd like it did last year for the gold members, and that's when we're really going to start ramping it up. Hey guys, remember, I'm Big J. Have a nice day. Bye.